Commander, the Heavenly Father, our Creator. He is the air and power plant of our aircraft, the compass that guides our direction. I would like to take this opportunity to briefly share the journey of the Air Force from the year we first took off until today. One of the indicators of a nation's progress is the development of superior air power. Whoever controls the air has domain over the surface. Sa munting AVP na ito, samahan niyo po kaming magbalik tanaw sa aming paglipad tungo sa isang matatag at maasang hukbong himpapawid para sa ating bayan at lipunan.
The Philippine Air Force started as the Philippine Constabulary Air Corps in 1930 with only 3 Stearman 73L3 trainer planes in its inventory. In 1935, it was redesignated as the Philippine Army Air Corps and finally, in 1947, evolved into the Philippine Air Force we know today. Our acquisition of F-86 Sabre jets and F-5 Freedom fighters during the 50s to 60s catapulted the PAF into the jet age, making the Philippines as one of the military powerhouses in Southeast Asia. From that decade up to the early 2000s, the PAF played a key role in the government's anti-insurgency campaign, fighting against coups d'etats and keeping the territorial integrity of our country intact by utilizing these assets. Our presence in the international community was widely known, supporting foreign peacekeeping operations in Korea, Congo, Vietnam, and Indonesia. When it seemed like we would climb to greater heights, the Asian financial crisis in 1997 swept the country's economy, halting the funding of AFP modernization projects, which subsequently caused the PAF's air power to wane. We endured and remained resilient. Despite the eventual decommissioning of our air assets and other equipment, the PAF carried on, providing that its resolve to be the protectors and guardians of our skies never weakened. Thankfully, with the unprecedented arrival of newer assets, the PAF became the game changers in providing decisive airstrike support, humanitarian assistance and disaster response, and territorial defense, which has put us back on track towards our modernization efforts. As an agile and dependable organization, the PAF has continued progressing and adapting to various situations. The pandemic had us intensify our efforts to address the ills of our country. Whether flying locally or internationally, we delivered the medical protective equipment and vaccines needed for our citizens. We have honed our craft in delivering the air power needed by our compatriots on the ground and sea, providing precise strikes day or night and guarding our maritime domain from external threats. As we face the 4th Industrial Revolution, we have heightened our network-centric operations, enabling us to better perform our mandates. In an ever-evolving landscape, difficulties and challenges will persist. But with the heroic efforts of the past and present airmen, the PAF will continue to be a capable and credible organization to protect the people and state from any and all threats. This is our commitment. This is our promise. Lipad, Philippine Air Force.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines and the Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
Thank you for your kind introduction. Our Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Andres Centino, former President and now Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, AFP Chief of Staff General Centino, Philippine Army Commanding General Lieutenant General Romeo Browner, officers and enlisted personnel of the Philippine Air Force, led by Commanding General Lieutenant General Connor Anthony Canlas Sr., foreign military attaches in attendance, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want you to take your seats. First and foremost, I think it is only appropriate that one of my first acts as president is to join you at this momentous 75th year anniversary of our very own, the Philippine Air Force. I congratulate the entire team, the brave, courageous men and women, officers of the Philippine Air Force, as commanded by Lieutenant General Connor Anthony D. Canlas. Your loyalty and commitment and love of country are definitely worth emulation for not only those in the military, but of all citizens of the Philippines. As we fly and aim high for our country and people, given the resounding and historical mandate that this administration has received, it is a most opportune time. Today's event is the perfect time to recognize our nation's continued enhancement in air strength over the years, the air capability that we have used and continue to employ in our national effort towards nationhood. The ongoing defense modernization effort is in coordination with the basic prerequisites that would complement this administration's vision for a stronger, bigger, and effective Air Force, capable of defending and maintaining our sovereign state and of assisting our people in times of dire consequences and today's reality that this dictates. A more modern aerial and surveillance capability is all the more felt given the territorial disputes that we in the Philippines are involved in. This enhanced capability is also proven to be very critical in the Philippine military's efforts to protect the nation from local communist insurgents and the extremist groups in the South. As our country is defined by more than 7,000 islands, several of which are located in active volcanic zones or are in the pathway of some of the strongest typhoons ever recorded in history, natural disasters are certainties we all expect now to happen. Transport aircraft, helicopters, and the like are important facilities that only the Philippine Air Force can suitably and sufficiently provide, especially during humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. All these are just some of the most fundamental and significant functions that we have come to expect from our Air Force. At this point, it is but proper that we honor, acknowledge, and appreciate the Philippine Air Force's outstanding personnel and units, for today is their day, and deservingly so. Congratulations to all the awardees. All of you are worth our emulation, our respect, our admiration. You are what makes this 75th year even more meaningful and essential than it already is. Thank you all to the officers and men and women of the Philippine Air Force. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. And I thank you once again to be part of this 75th celebration of the establishment of the Philippine Air Force. Magandang Hapon na po sa inyong lahat. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you, sir, for that very inspiring message. Please be seated.
We shall now proceed to the
Is our Flight Plan 2040.
As the Philippine Air Force continues its flight towards modernization, it transforms and evolves into a force that is well prepared to respond to any threats and challenges. At present, the PAF has 6 core systems, where every system caters to the requirements of various operations of the AFP. One of these is the Surface Strike System, which caters to the air strike capabilities to find, fix, and destroy surface targets. Guidelines must be established to successfully accomplish the mission, which resulted in the birth of the Integrated Surface Strike Operations Handbook in order to conduct its core defense mission as part of a joint, interagency, or multinational force or independently in support of national security objectives. This handbook contains the PAF Surface Strike System tactics, techniques, and procedures that are designed for the training and employment of different PAF air assets in the Surface Strike System operations, following the concept of the PAF Integrated Air Operations concept. The success of surface strike operations highlights the following capabilities. During surveillance and intelligence, our ISR platforms and forward air controllers systematically observe air, surfaces, places, persons, or things by visual, photographic, and other means. It is used to evaluate the surrounding friendlies and enemies in order to have proper planning, which leads to successful execution. During command and control, the exercise of authority and direction by a properly designated commander over assigned forces in the accomplishment of the mission. And during employment, PAF aircraft are employed along with their strike capabilities to destroy surface targets. The PAF has indeed proven its worth in providing the advantages of air power in achieving victory in the battlefield. And this is the evidence of the unwavering and tireless efforts and commitment of the men and women of the Philippine Air Force to excellence and professionalism.
which strategy refreshed last year and has laid the foundations for its strategic directions until 2040, with a renewed vision to become a credible and agile Air Force, adaptable to modern warfare and responsive to national and regional security and development.
On the other hand, the Integrated Surface Strike Operations Handbook is intended for the utilization of surface strike missions. Thank you, sirs. You may now be seated.
As a continuation, we shall now proceed to the launching of the PAF Geographic Information System. Once again, please direct your attention to the screen in front for an audio-visual presentation.
The Philippine Air Force, guided by the Lipad PAF framework, developed the PAF IAOS, the Command and Control Communications and Computer System, or IC4 core system, which provides seamless exchange of information among its other core systems to be interfaced in a common operational picture to ensure greater situational awareness among all tactical units. With that, the Philippine Air Force system developers designed and developed the PAF Geographical Information System to support the near real-time COP and geospatial requirements of the PAF Integrated Air Operations System and its core systems. The COP will have a reference-based maps on which data can be overlaid to different layers to visualize geographic information. Other relevant data can be added to a base map by overlaying other information on top of it. The overlays contain reference data that may provide supporting geospatial information for air operations.
The following are the current PAF GIS layer, PAF aircraft status. This map layer displays the status of every aircraft in every flying unit and can plot on the map its current location. Its data is supplied in near real times by the existing aircraft maintenance management system. Petroleum, oil and lubricant, firearms and air munitions reports layer, which provides logistic information about the day-to-day firearm and air munition status of all PAF units and the petroleum and lubricant balances of every PAF dump station, reflected in near real time. The data and analytics is supplied by the PAF Integrated Logistics System, or PAFILS, that serves as a tool for effective and efficient management of logistics resources to aid the military leadership in decision-making. The Spider Track Aircraft Flight Follow and Position Feeds layer. This is a third-party system that is connected through application programming interface in the PAF GIS to monitor the current location of the aircraft, whether on ground or airborne. It can capture the aircraft's track, altitude, and airspeed during the flight. This is the Philippine Air Force Geographic Information System, a network-centric operations responsive to national security and development.
Please be seated. At this juncture, we shall now proceed to the presentation of memento. May we request the Commanding General to present the memento to our guest of honor.
The pilot's helmet. The pilot's helmet is a protective headgear worn by military pilots during flight. It ensures the safety of the aircrew in the performance of their mission. Given during the commemoration of the 75th founding anniversary of the Philippine Air Force.
Another memento will be presented to our guest of honor.
The pilot's jacket. Pilot's jacket was created by the U.S. Army Aviation Clothing Board in 1917 to keep World War I pilots warm in the uninsulated open-air cockpits of the early fighter planes. Given during the commemoration of the 75th founding anniversary of the Philippine Air Force.
Thank you, sirs. May we request all our principals on stage for a photo session.